Welcome back, guys. Today, we're going to talk about something that I think a lot of people feel, but not many people say out loud: loneliness. And before you think, okay, this is going to be a sad video, I want to tell you that it is not. Or at least, it is not only sad. Because the more I looked into this, the more I found that loneliness is one of the most interesting and most misunderstood things happening in the world right now. And understanding it, really understanding it, changes how you see yourself and the people around you. Let me start with a number. In 2023, the Surgeon General of the United States, which is the country's top public health official, released a formal advisory. An advisory is an official warning or piece of guidance from an authority. And the advisory said that loneliness had reached epidemic levels in America. Epidemic means spreading widely through a population, affecting a very large number of people at the same time. We use that word for diseases. The United States government used it for loneliness. That is not a small thing to say. And it is not just America. A large study in the UK found that around 1 in 4 adults, they reported feeling lonely, often or always. In Japan, the problem became significant enough that the government created an actual Minister of Loneliness in 2021. A minister in this context means a government official responsible for a specific area of policy. Japan appointed a person whose entire job was to think about and address loneliness as a national issue. Address, used this way, means to deal with something directly and seriously. So this is not a personal failing. That is the first thing I want to say clearly. If you have ever felt lonely, and most people have, it is not because something is wrong with you individually. It is because something has shifted in the way we live, and that shift has happened faster than we have been able to adjust to it. Let me explain what I mean. For most of human history, people lived in small, tight communities. A community is a group of people living in the same area and sharing aspects of their lives. Villages, extended families, tribes. You knew the people around you. You saw them every day. You were involved in each other's lives, not because you chose to be, but because the structure of life made that inevitable. Inevitable means certain to happen, impossible to avoid. Then, over the last 100 or so years, and especially in the last few decades, several things changed at once. People moved to cities for work. Families spread across different cities and countries. Working hours became longer. People started living alone in much greater numbers. In 1960, about 13% of households in the United States were single-person households. By 2022, that number had risen to about 29%. A household is the group of people living together in one home. None of these changes are bad on their own. Moving to a city for opportunity is not bad. Living alone is not bad. But they created conditions in which connection, the kind of easy, daily, unplanned connection that humans evolved to need, became something you had to actively seek out rather than something that just happened naturally. Evolved means developed gradually over a very long period of time through the process of natural selection. Connection in this context means meaningful contact and relationship with other people. And actively seeking things out is harder than it sounds when you're tired from work and your friends live 40 minutes away, and making plans requires coordinating calendars 2 weeks in advance. Here is something important about loneliness that I think most people do not know. Loneliness and being alone are not the same thing. They are related, but they are different. Being alone is a physical state. It just means there are no other people present. Loneliness is a felt experience. It is the painful feeling of being disconnected, of wanting more connection than you currently have. Disconnected means separated, not linked to something you want or need to be part of. You can be alone and feel completely fine. Many people need and enjoy solitude. Solitude is time spent alone, especially when it is chosen and feels peaceful. And you can be surrounded by people and feel profoundly lonely. Profoundly means deeply, in a way that affects you at a fundamental level. Many people report feeling lonelier at a party full of strangers than they do sitting by themselves at home. Because loneliness is not about the number of people around you. It is about the quality of the connection. This is where it gets more complicated. Because we now have more ways to connect with people than at any point in history. Social media, messaging apps, video calls, online communities. You can talk to someone on the other side of the world in seconds. And yet, the data suggests that younger generations, the people who grew up with all of this technology, report some of the highest rates of loneliness ever recorded. Rates in this context means how commonly something occurs in a population. Why? That question has kept researchers busy for years, and there is no single clean answer. But a few things keep coming up. One is the difference between passive and active use of social media. Passive means receiving without participating. Active means engaging and participating. When people use social media passively, scrolling through other people's posts without actually interacting, studies consistently find it makes them feel worse, more lonely, not less. This is partly because of something called social comparison. Social comparison is the natural human tendency to evaluate your own life by looking at other people's lives. And social media gives you a curated version of other people's lives. Curated means carefully selected and arranged to present the best or most appealing version of something. So you are comparing your ordinary Tuesday to everyone else's highlight reel. Highlight reel is a term that originally meant a short video showing only the best moments. Now it is used more broadly to mean the edited, polished version of someone's life that they choose to show the world. Another factor is what researchers call weak ties versus strong ties. Strong ties are your close relationships, the people you would call if something went seriously wrong. Weak ties are the lighter connections. The person you nod to every morning at the coffee shop, the colleague you chat with briefly, the neighbor you wave at. These weak ties matter more than most people realize. They create a feeling of being embedded in a community. Embedded means being firmly placed within something, part of a larger structure. And modern life, with its remote working, its online shopping, its app-delivered everything, has steadily reduced the number of weak ties most people have. The casual, repeated, low-stakes contact that used to happen naturally in daily life has slowly been designed out of the way we live. There is also the physical dimension. Dimension means aspect or layer of something. Loneliness is not just emotional. It has measurable effects on the body. The same Surgeon General's advisory cited research showing that lacking social connection is associated with a 29% increased risk of heart disease, a 32% increased risk of stroke, and a 50% increased risk of developing dementia. Dementia is a group of conditions that cause a decline in memory, thinking, and the ability to carry out daily activities. These are not small numbers. They are comparable to the risks associated with smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Comparable means similar in level or degree. The reason for this is partly stress. When humans feel socially isolated, the body responds as if it is under threat. Isolated means separated from others, cut off. Historically, being cut off from your group was dangerous. It meant vulnerability to predators, to starvation, to all the things that a group protects against. So the body treats social isolation the way it treats physical danger. It activates the stress response. The stress response is the body's automatic reaction to threat, involving hormones like cortisol that prepare you to fight or flee. When this response is triggered repeatedly over long periods, it damages the body, the cardiovascular system, the immune system, the brain. This is why loneliness is not a soft issue. It is not a feelings issue that is somehow less serious than a physical health issue. It is a physical health issue. So what do people actually do about it? This is the part I find most interesting because the answers are not what you might expect. The instinct for a lot of people is to try to find more people, join a club, download a social app, go to events, and that can help. But the research suggests that what matters more than the quantity of interactions is the quality. Quantity means the amount or number of something. Quality means how good something is. Even brief interactions that have genuine warmth and attention are more effective at reducing loneliness than being around many people in a superficial way. Superficial means existing only on the surface, without depth or real meaning. One study at the University of Chicago found that asking strangers on public transport to have a genuine conversation made both people feel better. Even though most people predicted beforehand that talking to a stranger would be awkward and unpleasant, predicted means thought in advance that something would happen. The anticipation was worse than the reality. Anticipation means the feeling of expecting something that is about to happen. Another thing that comes up repeatedly in the research is the idea of giving rather than seeking. When people focus on contributing to others, volunteering, helping a neighbor, being present for a friend, they tend to feel less lonely themselves. This seems counterintuitive. Counterintuitive means the opposite of what your instincts tell you. If I am lonely, how does helping someone else fix that? But the research is fairly consistent. Connection, real connection, comes less from being received and more from giving, from paying attention to another person, from being genuinely useful to someone. There is also something to be said for the physical environment. Cities and towns that are designed with public spaces, benches, walkable streets, local shops, libraries, parks, produce more incidental interaction between people. Incidental means happening as a natural side effect of something else, not planned. The design of a place shapes how much unplanned human contact happens within it. And unplanned contact turns out to be important. Those weak ties, those brief, warm moments with people you barely know need somewhere to happen. I want to end with something that I think about a lot. Loneliness is not a fixed state. Fixed means permanent, not able to change. It is something that fluctuates. Fluctuates means moves up and down, changes over time. Most people who experience loneliness do not experience it permanently. It comes and goes, depending on circumstances, on life stages, on what you are going through. And one of the most useful things I've found in reading about this is the distinction between loneliness as a signal and loneliness as an identity. A distinction is a clear difference between two things. Signal means a message or indicator telling you something. Identity means how you define yourself, who you believe yourself to be. When you feel hungry, your body is sending you a signal. The signal means, go find food. You do not think, I am a hungry person, this is who I am. You think, I need to eat something. Researchers who study loneliness suggest treating it the same way, not as a permanent fact about yourself, but as information, a message that says, you need more connection right now. Go find some. That shift in framing, from loneliness as something wrong with you to loneliness as something your life needs more of, turns out to make a real difference in how people respond to it. Framing means the way you choose to think about or present something. Because if loneliness is a character flaw, there is shame in it, and shame makes people withdraw. And withdrawing is the opposite of what helps. But if loneliness is a signal, like hunger or tiredness, then it is just information, and information you can act on. And maybe that is the most important thing to remember. Feeling lonely does not mean you are broken. It does not mean you are unlikable, weak, or failing at life. Sometimes it simply means you have been disconnected for too long in a world that quietly makes disconnection easy. A lot of people around you probably feel the same way, even if they never say it out loud. The student sitting alone in class, the man driving home from work in silence, the person scrolling late at night pretending they are not, hoping someone messages them. Human beings are still wired for connection, even in a world full of screens, noise, and distractions. And the strange thing is, small moments matter more than we think. One conversation, one invitation, one person who listens carefully, one place where you feel welcomed. Sometimes healing from loneliness does not begin with suddenly finding your perfect group of people. Sometimes it begins with a very small moment where you feel seen again. So, if you have been feeling lonely lately, do not treat it like a verdict about your life. Treat it like a reminder to reach outward instead of disappearing inward. Because connection is still possible. And often, the people who feel the most alone are the ones who understand the value of real connection, the deepest, once they find it again.